An Australian composer and violist who performed in Taipei last week has been diagnosed with COVID-19. During a week in Taiwan, the 58-year-old began to develop flu symptoms before flying home to Brisbane.
Health authorities have so far identified at least 147 people who were in close contact with him, 103 of whom have been told to self-isolate for 2 weeks. Massive disinfection efforts were carried out on Friday at the location of his public performances, namely the National Concert Hall in the centre of Taipei.
Last week, this composer was performing at the National Theatre and Concert Hall in Taipei. Now, the 58-year-old is back home in Australia, and he's tested positive for the coronavirus. His management confirmed on their website that he has been hospitalized. On February 22nd, he departed London on an EVA Air flight with a transfer in Bangkok before arriving in Taipei on February 23rd. 13 EVA Air crew members have already been asked to self-isolate. While in Taipei, he gave 2 performances with the National Taiwan Symphony Orchestra and gave a pre-performance press conference and interview on February 26th. The next day, he began to cough and developed a runny nose. He continued to cough through a rehearsal on February 28th when he was not wearing a mask.
We should reduce the impact of his presence in Taiwan as much as possible. We have defined exactly who he had contact with, and their health is being thoroughly checked. That includes 21 orchestra members and 7 journalists who were at the press conference, as well as a reporter who interviewed him. What we know so far is that he was in contact with approximately 124 people. So far, we have asked 36 people to self-isolate. There are still some gaps in our knowledge, and our contact tracing is still ongoing.
During a performance at the National Concert Hall, the musician briefly took a seat in the audience.
What we understand so far is that he sat down during one performance between his friends and National Symphony Orchestra members. We have a provisional list of contacts drawn up concerning the other performance.
First thing Friday morning, cleaners were called in to thoroughly disinfect the National Theatre and Concert Hall. All performances planned for this weekend are cancelled.
Yesterday evening, we cleared the buildings of all staff members. This morning at 8 a.m., we set about disinfecting every floor one by one. We took particular care in disinfecting areas touched by audience members, such as armrests, part of the seat where the neck rests, and anywhere that may be touched by the hands.
Health Minister Chen Shizhong tried to soothe fears around the news by highlighting that the concert hall was well ventilated during the events. He says audience members should not be too alarmed, although of course they should seek medical checks immediately if they develop symptoms.